I watched a couple of interesting videos this week. Interesting, frightening. And one of them was this very strange right-wing channel that I got in my recommendations, and curiosity got the better of me, literally. And I decided to watch it and try and get inside these people's heads and figure out why they think that they are on the right side of things. Now, the video was from a channel called Black Pilled. Black Pilled was the name of the channel. Don't bother with it unless you like that sort of thing. If you do, I feel sorry for you. Basically, the video was a critique of an older movie that came out in '98 called Pleasantville, which mocked the culture of the 1950s sitcom. And the way he was describing this was an interesting thing. He was looking at the 1950s and its narrowness as some kind of virtuous former glory that America had in the 1950s, and how women knew their place, and this was good. And the whole thing was this paranoid, delusional thing of wanting to step back into some kind of mythical past that never truly existed.
They have to pervert every memory they had of their time together to fit this new narrative that they're better off without them, that they had simply outgrown them. But it wasn't just important for the baby boomers to forget and smear the past they had thrown away to help them survive and get on, although in a very real way, it was about self-preservation. You see, a new generation was growing up now, growing up in a completely different world. The new normal that had been crafted by the baby boomers. A world of broken homes, of a broken society filled with broken people.
And they've fixed it in their heads that they hate boomers because boomers were responsible, and all of the boomers were revolutionaries, and they upset the apple cart in the 60s, and they ruined everything for the rest of us. And these people really are very much following the pattern of what happened to the Nazis, even so-called good people, religious people. And this is interesting because I watched a video about German theologians who supported Hitler.
And they were happy without drugs, without antidepressants, without casual sex. What would this new generation, exposed to these images, what would they think if they saw this time, this place that now seemed like some kind of mad utopia, and realized that it was gone? Or more importantly, why it was gone?
The parallels to what's going on today were indeed frightening. It's hard to know what to believe because the sources of information that we're getting are so controlled. The amount of people on the internet who have these insane, demonstrably proven lies. My recommended box is filled with this stuff. Don't ask me why. I never watch any of it, except for this particular one, this black-pilled idiot who's got all kinds of followers, of course. And in reading some of the comments, many of them are flat out say Hitler was right. So is this where we're getting to? My father was in the Second World War. It was horrible. Everything about it was absolutely the horrors, the unimaginable horrors. When I was a young man, people were being sent to Vietnam. A different kind of hell, but a hell very much the same. You know, when America holds itself up as some kind of paragon of virtue, do you know how nauseating that is to the rest of the world? Do you know how nauseating that is to people who are getting bombs dropped on them daily. It's late empire. There's parallels not only between the fall of Rome, but also parallels between Nazism in pre-war Germany. This idea of returning to some mythical past where the Volk were primarily good, and they mix that in with their religion, much like the evangelical people are doing with Lump 45.
How could this movie simultaneously be satanic and also be propaganda meant to obscure the past? What does that tell you about the people who are responsible for destroying our culture? That they knew what they had was good, and they purposely destroyed it because, like modern Satanists, they valued exploring evil more than preserving good.
And I'm burnt out by it all. You can't go onto the internet without seeing pictures of Lump 45. And seeing him on a video just makes me absolutely nauseous. There is something that I think those of us with a good heart can see as plain as the nose on your face what this man is all about, and the evil that emanates from him, that surrounds him, the divisiveness, the lying, the racism, the hatred. He's our boy, America the Virtuous. The rise of ultranationalists in Brazil, Ukraine, Poland, the rise of the extreme right is a spiritual problem, really. It's a problem when we wish to keep everything for ourselves, to beggar thy neighbor and live in some kind of alternate reality that manages to fit with our hatred, with our insecurities, with our fear. And I think right-wingers tend to be the most fearful people. They're afraid of change, they're afraid of life, and they want everything to be predictable, orderly. Life isn't orderly, life is chaotic. Take it from somebody who's lived a few years. There's nothing orderly about life. It's chaotic, and we try and organize it into systems, and the systems are corrupt and they don't do anybody any good.
Now, after school, we go to David's home in the suburbs. Rows upon rows of McMansions occupied by baby boomers. Now, David is watching an episode of Pleasantville while his single mother baby boomer mom is chatting on the phone about her social life in the kitchen. It's obvious to the viewer that David wants nothing more than to be in that world on the television screen, to have a mother who pays attention to him and a father that, well, a father.
I would argue that those that hate baby boomers don't understand the trials that we have faced and the diversity. You see, they try and say that all of my generation are exactly the same, and it's just not true. Just as many people were on, say, a left side or a right side, and that's just even left and right. That's just another way of preventing the people from having a voice.
Now, the subversive force that has entered their universe begins to spread as Skip tells his teammates about the forbidden fruit. And slowly we see the world that was too perfect and too happy. It begins to slip away. David is alarmed when he sees what's happening, and he begs his sister to stop destroying the universe. But Jennifer, who values her own whims and her own wants and her own desires over the good of the society around her, just ignores him. So it's not long before all of the kids are going to the Garden of Eden and partaking of the forbidden fruit.
All of these people that absolutely believe in the most insane things, what I've seen on the internet and just these videos, that, and they're always in my recommended, which makes me question who's trying to influence my opinion, because over and over again, and I guess it's like they're doing a Pavlov's dog thing, seeing how many times you can check the little box to say you're not interested. And of course, I would say 95% of what Google recommends are things that I would absolutely have no interest in, and yet the algorithm seems to think that I need to know that George Soros is being prosecuted along with Bill and Hillary Clinton, and they take all of these completely insane things that never happen, and they get hundreds of thousands of views for this nonsense, which leads me to believe that most people are not very bright. Certainly I've met many, many wonderful, intelligent people on the internet, and I know that they're out there. But why am I being inundated with these insane, absolutely insane conspiracy theories that get hundreds of thousands of views, that maybe it's the same reason people read tabloids. It's the low IQ thing, and it's easily digestible.
Whites might have functioned well and been happy in the paradise they built and maintained until the outsiders showed up, the outsiders who didn't like this paradise. But now they have to be eradicated one by one for this new culture, which is incompatible with the whites apparently. I don't know how much clearer the filmmakers could make this. This movie isn't just an excuse for destroying the past, or propaganda that seeks to counter that yearning to gain back what was thrown away so carelessly by the baby boomers.
People are easily manipulated by these things. If you have a hatred for somebody, say Hillary Clinton, and there, so many people hated Hillary Clinton. And honestly, I think she was as horrible as most politicians are. So, I never particularly liked her or expected anything from her except more neoliberal crap. But these people all of a sudden say there are these secret tribunals taking place, and executions of George W. Bush has been executed by firing squad, and Hillary and those people are on death row, and all this stuff. Honestly, they put this shit out there, and people eat the crap up. And I wonder, they subscribe to these channels, and this shit never happens. And you wonder, at what point do they go, well, maybe this isn't true? Duh. Come on. Of course it's not true. It's nonsense. And people fall for it. When the lie becomes more powerful than the truth, then you know that a society is in deep, deep trouble. When people make up what they want because they hate people, the amount of racism I've seen lately, the comments, the absolute ugliness. I never realized how many truly ugly people were in the world. And maybe it took the internet to really truly see how awful a lot of people truly are. How much hate is in their heart. How much they want to hurt other people. Because maybe it will prove a point and they will feel better about themselves. We're all kind of inconsequential. We're important to ourselves. That's about it. But there's billions and billions of people on this earth. And what makes any of us more important than somebody else? I don't know. I've been asking myself questions, and dying to my ego over the last few years has been a very painful experience, but necessary for growth. We do so much that's attached to this ego that will drive us on relentlessly to do things that aren't in our best interest. It's a terrible taskmaster, and it's what's wrong with the world. And we encourage that. As a culture, we encourage people to become egotistical and narcissistic. This is what's considered success. I mean, look at the biggest blowhard in the world, Lump 45. People are to emulate that kind of disgusting, slimy, ignorant behavior. How did this happen? You contrast it with people that have intelligent ideas and want what's best for the society. That is so rare. Public servant. It's public servant. It's not public boss. That has become a concept that's completely foreign to these faux leaders. And the money and the personal aggrandizement that they seek rather than helping people, where they could help people. They could use their offices to help people. They don't. They don't want to, because they're wrapped up in their own egos. And they'll take money, they'll justify taking money from oil companies and say, oh no, that's not going to affect me whatsoever. I'm pure and clean. It's like this alternate reality that we're fed constantly. And the internet came about, I thought, well, this will be a way to democratize media. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. It's still controlled mightily. I hope that things get better. I don't expect them to. Therefore, I will remain happily hopeless. And it's your happily hopeless friend wishing you all the very best. Keep safe. And just do one nice thing. Just some random act of kindness. And you don't know how far that will ripple. So there, that's your homework assignment, as it were, for this week. Do something nice. I'm going to go out and try and practice what I preach. So, boy, the wind's getting pretty strong out there. Okay, that's it. See you next week.
We cannot believe, to be honest with you, we've gotten away with this so long. Hard, you harden. Hard, you harden. Hard, you harden. Very small, very small. You're not going to get in. Very small. You're not going to get in. Very small, very small.